And we're back. And now we're going to wrap up with some technology that went very rogue and technology that went, did it go haywire or did it not go haywire, and transport them into another time that seems to be lost.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 2 examples of technology really not working well.
Exactly. Cyborg number 2, The Imitation of Life Part 2, Trial and Terror. Kilgore. Not with an O, but with the percentage sign.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be your favorite technological terror of all time?
My fingers don't even want to type that name. There's something in my brain that just says, no, that's not a percentage sign, that's an O. And man, is he a wordy dude.
He is.
He's a chatterbox. And he even mentions, hey, I didn't used to be a chatterbox. I used to say danger, Will Robinson, that sort of stuff. And man, does he talk a lot.
Oh, he was a pretty good character when he was, all that talking though was, wow, you really got to understand it reminds me of the Matrix a little bit, of the machines want to revolt. Kilgore's master, they're trying to size up Cyborg. And just by saying, all right, we've been oppressed, we've been taken for granted, we've been doing man's work and we're superior, now is our time to rise up. What it was saying was really trying to appeal to Cyborg's robotic side.
Yep.
And I thought he was making some very good points.
Yeah, and it makes sense too, I mean, for Kilgore's master to use Kilgore, because this is a guy who is a robot who has a very, very human personality.
Yes.
And he makes some wisecracks, he makes all these points in there, and he seems really fueled by emotion. He seems very human as he speaks. So I think it makes sense to send him against Cyborg too. And it's also kind of ironic because one of the terms they've mentioned a lot in this is e-waste.
Yes.
Is that, one of the reasons why Kilgore's master wants to lead this revolt of robots and machines is because of e-waste, that humans create machines, they create them, they use them, they throw them away. And Kilgore mentions that most of his brethren who have teamed up with, who are working alongside him, were basically just discarded cyborgs, discarded robots, discarded machines. And at the end, after beating Kilgore, Cyborg says, well, now he's e-waste.
Yep.
So it's almost like he's sort of fueling that rage that they would have, against e-waste, because Cyborg's creating it. Almost like he's not understanding that, but there's also the confusion that as Kilgore is saying, hey, you're a robot, give into your robot side. Cyborg says, there's only one problem with that plan. I'm a human. I'm a cyborg.
Right. I'm human first and foremost.
Yeah. And it's that funny, trying to fit a circular plug into a square hole. It doesn't work, and both sides are trying to do that.
No, it was, like Kilgore could read, because it was electrical impulses, he was able to read Cyborg's mind, and he brought up, well, you were talking to the jazz artist about being human, and then you were listening to your dad's fail-safe about, did I save my son and create another Frankenstein's E-monster? He knew, but he was even being told what to do. Kilgore was told what to do by his master, and his dad gets kidnapped by Kilgore because Kilgore can be in 2 places at once because he is able to manipulate electrical pulses, electricity. They take him to the church where his mother, they had the funeral for his mother, so they were playing on these emotions, put him in a bubble that said that if you rescued your father, your alien technology was going to be disintegrated. It would burn your technology away.
Yeah, by some sort of chemical they had in that bubble that he was in.
And then it was really no choice for Cyborg. He rescued his dad, but the technology destroyer and chemical, they said, well, it wasn't as strong as we said it would. We just wanted to test you. Our master was hoping that you would come to our side. But even in the end, that is not his dad that he was rescued. That was what maybe be that robotic cyborg senior, if you want to call it, that was supposedly the master.
Yeah.
Because they show Cyborg's dad saying, no, that's not, you fell into a trap.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of manipulating going on here.
Right.
I mean, because when Cyborg saves his dad and Kilgore says, yeah, we kind of figured you would do that, we were just testing you, makes me wonder how much of what Kilgore was saying before that was true.
Right.
Was he just pushing buttons before that, trying to get a reaction out of Cyborg? And then, even after that, what is the point of replacing Silas Stone?
Yes.
Is that to get into Star Labs? Is that to get into that vault
It might be.
that they were trying to get into in the very first issue with, what was that robot's name? Malware?
Yes, Malware.
Yeah, maybe that's trying to get into that vault again. Maybe it's trying to blow it up. Maybe it's just trying to get closer to Cyborg to get him farther along.
Right.
To get him over to that side. We'll see.
That was a really great issue.
Yeah.
I enjoy Cyborg. It was a really cool issue. And Cyborg, with the New 52, they really made a point to bring him from Teen Titans to the Justice League, to bring one of the main heroes. And what I'm reading so far, I enjoy this. I really enjoy the bantiness with Cyborg, the technology of the different villains that are all based in technology. And there's so many more robots, cyborgs to come, machines to come, which I think is going to be kind of cool, this little end game that they're building up to. Cyborg was one of my favorite issues I look forward to reading.
Yeah. For being a very technological character, I mean, something that's, I mean, we're probably never going to become cyborgs ourselves, but it's still a very relatable issue he's fighting, which is just, how human is he? I mean, people depict him as being cold and emotionless, and he's trying to prove, I'm a human. I'm just like one of you.
Right.
It's that feeling of being treated differently that alienates him, and that resonates with me a lot.
That's true. Cyborg number 2, great read, and it's shaping up to be one of the premier series in the DC universe. Superman number 8, Escape from Dinosaur Island, Part 1. Josh, have you ever made a science experiment that all of a sudden went and transported you to a distant island? An island that seems lost at time?
No, and that's a pretty dangerous science experiment, especially when you're just trying to make a drone.
Yes.
And it goes and teleports you somewhere else.
Now, I've seen drones in terms of drones with the GoPros on them fly away because they've lost control, were out of sync with the remote. But I've never seen a drone all of a sudden go to your Kryptonian crystal font, download something, and transport yourself, your dog, and your dad. Yeah, technology there, well, I might find a different science experiment.
Yeah, especially when the place you've been transported to is full of prehistoric monsters and the remains of the guys who were killed by said prehistoric monsters a long time ago.
Yeah. You think there's a connection there?
Hard to say. I mean, it's interesting too that this drone robot thing would scan a Kryptonian thing, like the crystal font, which stores Kryptonian memories, and transport Superman and John there.
And
Makes me
Krypto.
wonder. Yeah.
Don't forget Krypto.
Oh yeah, can't forget Krypto. Krypto gets eaten again. Hey, why
And
not?
they
Even the
bring that-
writers can't forget Krypto.
They bring that up. That's
Yeah.
great.
It makes you wonder, is there a connection between Dinosaur Island and Krypton?
Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island. I've heard of that place before.
Yeah. It's been featured every now and then in DC Comics, being a weird thing that just occasionally crops up. Full of islands, and usually part of World War II stuff.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Hint. Towards the end of the issue.
Yes. John is learning a lot from his dad. He is learning compassion. He's learning how to survive, trying to find that balance between using his powers and when not to use his powers. And he's learning humility, I think, too, to kind of look before you leap. And a lot of history that when they were on this island with the World War II, he was talking to him of this is this. Well, how do you know? Well, you and myself and your grandpa, we used to watch a lot of World War II movies. I like the little history lessons that Clark is able to give his son as they're going through this, to really, I think, make Jonathan appreciate what's around him.
Yeah, and to not always rely on your superpowers. I mean, a lot of that wasn't Superman really needing his powers. He was calling on his own education and his own, his own humility. Like, especially when they find a tank that has, Superman peeks inside, they have the dead bodies, and he seals the hatch before John can look in and says, "Yeah, you don't really need to see that. They're, let him rest in peace." It was a neat.
Yes, it was.
It's teaching him some neat lessons.
Got some really good lessons in this Superman issue. Let's get to the big reveal. We have the dinosaurs. We have Krypto being eaten by a dinosaur. He gets spit out. We have Superman being swallowed by a killer whale, looks like.
Dunkleosteus.
A what?
Dunkleosteus. Giant armored prehistoric fish.
Do they make a toy of that?
No, and if they have, I don't own one. If I had, I would have brought it. Because that's one of those where I got to that page and I said, "Yay, Dunkleosteus!"
Wow.
So.
As Superman squeezed his little heart to heart.
Yeah.
Were they Triceratops or were they killer Triceratops that they were fighting up in the sky?
No, the Triceratops live on land, Tom. Come on, they're
I'm
the
trying
ones
to
with the
test
horns.
you. I'm trying to test the museum man here.
Those were not. I would call them
Pterodactyls?
Pteranodons. No, not Pteranodons. They had sort of a keel build jaw on both sides, so something more like Trypionathus or a Disungarpteris. Another definitely close relative of Pteranodon and Pterodactylus, but not one of those. I can't put a distinct name on that. But Dunkleosteus, oh yeah, that's Dunkleosteus.
Some really cool nods to some prehistoric times and some classic times in the DC universe. We find the remains of a classic DC military group called
The Losers.
And who were the Losers?
The Losers were a sort of ragtag band of U.S. military guys. They came from all the different military services. They ended up together after various various disasters they each experienced. And the last time I heard about the Losers was they ended up on Dinosaur Island, and that was sort of their last adventure. And they all ended up getting killed on Dinosaur Island. And through this issue, we see the Japanese Zero fighter. We see that World War II tank. They end up finding the battlefield graves that have one of them has the Navy cap. They have the helmets, and it sort of leads to make you think, okay, there's all those different headgear.
Yes.
Makes you think maybe something's gonna happen with the Losers, and then they get to that little fortified position up there that still has the machine guns and everything, and they finally look and they see that inscription on the wall by the last of the Losers, and he's just carving down their story for posterity.
This issue was a great issue. More importantly, this was a tribute issue. These Dinosaur Island Part 1 and 2 is a tribute to Darwin Cook. Give us a little bit of history of Darwin Cook.
Darwin Cook is an artist who worked a lot for DC Comics. Probably most well known for DC The New Frontier, which was a sort of alternate universe set back in a time where superheroes were sort of being oppressed by the government a little bit. They end up having a sort of working out a different relationship between the government and superheroes. Actually, I remember Darwin Cook from Batman Beyond. He actually worked as one of the storyboard artists for that, which was kind of mind-blowing when I saw that in the credits as an adult. I happened to see that name go through. It's like, I mean, Darwin Cook is a name you can't miss when you've got a Y in Darwin. Like, whoa, wait, what? Darwin Cook was on that show? But it wasn't that long ago. We had Darwin Cook covers for almost every DC series, and then it wasn't long after that he passed away. So that was pretty mind blowing.
Darwin Cook has a very distinctive art style. The word I want to say is very. I don't want to say old, but it's very grand. I think in a way, just the lines and subtlety really does take you back to that time, especially Justice League New Frontier.
Yep.
I had that animated movie, and the art style was just phenomenally. It just felt classic. It was a classic style.
Yep, yeah. I have some of the toys based on his work, and one of the figures I have is a Wonder Woman, and I have her with all my other Wonder Womans. And it was at one point I had guests over at my house, and they were this gal looked at all my Wonder Womans, and pointed to the Darwin Cook one and said, "Is this the oldest one you have?" And I said, "No, that's like the most recent one I have."
Right.
It's that look, that sort of
nostalgic.
vintage, very nostalgic look, which I've heard comparisons to like Jack Kirby. And there's that just sort of classic comic feel to it.
Exactly. In this day and age, and you see a lot of the super detailed art. And this is a simpler art style, which is cool. And I like a little tribute, kind of putting two series that he had worked on in the past together, like for Darwin at the end. I thought that was cool. And next issue for Superman is going to be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we get to see more of the losers, maybe as flashback,
right,
or whatever. See how did their final stand against all the dinosaurs and not dinosaurs in this issue, because Dunkleosteus and pterosaurs are not dinosaurs. So
right, and even when
dinosaur bones,
even when Superman and Jonathan were trying to fly away from the island, it was like this area wasn't letting them go because they couldn't see anything. They just felt like they were flying for miles. So there's definitely something to that island. If this is kind of like a one-shot story, it's very cool. If this is something that they might explore later in the years in the DC universe, it's kind of nice to go back every now and again.
Yep, it'll be neat to see if this is, is Monster Island even on Earth?
Right.
And could it be some little pocket dimension where they can't get out of? That'll be interesting.
Right. Well, this wraps up this discussion, this episode of Comic Book Cove number 23. Josh, any parting thoughts on what we've deemed the technology is good, except when it isn't?
Yeah. Might be a good idea if you're building a drone. Don't use a thing that might teleport you anywhere else. Don't build that function in. If you're building robots, maybe don't call them e-waste. Don't throw them away. Just treat the technology with respect.
Yeah, very true. Or you might have technology coming back at you.
Yeah, or maybe just don't build it in the first place.
Yeah, don't make any rings you can't destroy.
Yeah.
Fun episode this week of Comic Book Cove, and nice little dedication at the end to Darwin Cook. And if you, like I always say, if you have any thoughts or anything that you want us to discuss on Comic Book Cove, drop us a line at our Facebook and YouTube site, Delve Into the Void. So for this week, with my iPhone, piece of technology, be nice to it, I'm Tom Morris, and with the iPad,
I'm Josh Elderbaum.
and we'll see you next episode of Comic Book Cove.